Hey guys, welcome back to the Of Stone and Clay podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Today we have an awesome guest that I'm sure is exhausted and hungry because he just did a long event with lots of Q&A, and it's like 10:30, but we're getting after it because what else are we going to do?
Exactly. What else
But,
you do on Provo on a Thursday night?
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing else to do. But Chad is a very interesting human. I'm excited to talk to you because Chad is a bit of an expert in a lot of different fields, an ex-NBA analyst, an author of several books, a professor, and also sort of an expert in peacemaking, which is really interesting. And so, yeah, I would love to hear a little bit more about what peacemaking is, what it is exactly that you sort of specialize in and spend the most of your energy on.
Yeah, I'm glad you think that that's the cool thing.
I
Some
think
people
it's
are like the
awesome.
NBA thing.
Well, no,
That's the really cool
listen,
thing.
I grew up playing basketball. I played in high
Okay.
school. I coached basketball for 4 years. Like,
Nice.
I think it's really cool. But like we were talking before the show, it's pretty obvious that one is a way more fulfilling and purpose-driven vocation.
Yeah, I love that word vocation. Like that's exactly what it feels like for me. And peacemaking to me, like it's a lot of different things, right? Like it's one, like a personal attitude that I try to have just in my relationships
Mm-hmm.
in my life. It's being a conflict mediator, working in so many different types of conflicts. Like I started as like child custody, like mediation, like back in the day. Most of my work over the last 20 years has been in the Middle East, working with Israelis and Palestinians. I've worked in Northern Ireland. I've worked in Africa. Sometimes I do even like community type of work. Political polarization has been something that I've been spending a lot of time on lately.
Yeah.
And a lot of like interfaith conflict. And the one that I find really fascinating, I've been doing a lot of work with, is conflict within congregations, right? So not between denominations, like within the actual congregations, where a lot of faith leaders feel like they just don't really have the tools to be able to navigate that, but we're becoming more polarized. And so I do a lot of that, but then I'm also teach at a university. I'm at Utah State right now. We have the Harvey Peace Institute there. We've got like 5 certificates that we do. And maybe that's my favorite part of the job, because you get to work with these young people who like recognize that the world isn't what it should be.
Yeah.
We haven't left them the right world. And I've never seen a generation like more motivated to like get the skills to like do and change the world.
Yeah.
And it keeps me young. It's like so awesome to be around those students and recognize that they're going to do things with their life that are really powerful.
Yeah, that's really cool. So when you're like on the ground in Palestine and stuff, what are you doing? Are you working with governments? Are you working with nonprofits? Are you working with individuals?
All of the above.
Yeah.
I've done work for the U.S. State Department before. I've done work with USAID. I've worked with a number of nonprofits. I have a favorite called Peace Players, and they bring Israelis and Palestinians together playing the game of basketball.
Oh, awesome.
So it like melds those two lives together.
Yeah.
That's where the intersection really happens. It's super cool nonprofit. They also exist in Northern Ireland and South Africa. We got to get these
games streamed somehow.
I am telling you that some of the most exciting games I've ever seen have been with Peace Players, because sometimes the stakes are so high, and the Peace Players fields in the Israeli league, the only joint Israeli-Palestinian basketball team.
Oh, really cool.
And when they go to various places to play, you can imagine, like, a lot of people don't like that there's Palestinians there. A lot of times they don't like that the Israelis are playing with the Palestinians. They're sort of like Jackie Robinson in the 1950s doing this stuff. But I was at a game when they won the Israeli league, and it was huge, in part because, they put in so much work, but it also, basketball is a collaborative sport.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be able to communicate and work together. It truly is a team sport. Unless you're Kobe, you just can't go on your own 1-on-5 and win a game. And I thought it was like a pivotal moment in the movement to say, oh, here's an example of Israelis and Palestinians who actually know how to work together,
Yeah.
and they work together so effectively that they can defeat the most athletic, best team in the league. And so that's been a really powerful experience for me. And then look, a lot of it is individual. Like even in these big conflicts that we think about, they're driven by people. They're driven by individuals. A lot of times they have trauma in their background, who felt hurt or disappointed in the past. And so they need to address that before you can get to the bigger types of conflict that exist. And so I find myself in all those spaces, sometimes like simultaneously on a trip. I might be here and then I'm there and then I'm on a rooftop at midnight, like working with a leader who's really, really struggling with something. And sometimes it has nothing to do with Israelis and Palestinians. Sometimes it has to do with his wife or like has to do with the kids that he's trying to raise or whatever. Human conflict at the end of the day, we have a lot in common with each other when it comes to like conflict.
Yeah. So I'm sure. So how long have you been sort of involved in the Israel conflict?
20 years.
Wow. Okay. So I don't want to go too deep down this rabbit hole because we could do a whole other podcast on it. But how do you kind of summarize for people that maybe feel like it's just such a confusing conflict that it's like, there's Palestine, there's Gaza, there's the West Bank, there's Jerusalem, there's Christians, there's Jews, there's Arabics. How do you sort of, put that into summation a little bit to help people understand, like, why is this such an endless, like, crazy conflict?
Yeah. I don't want to oversimplify it because it's complicated, right? But the way I try to describe it to my students, for example, is you have these two groups of people that have deep historical connections to a piece of land. It's tied up in their cultural beliefs as well as their religious beliefs, right? So there's a feeling that God wants or thinks that this land is theirs, as well as, deep cultural connections to the land itself. Their ancestors are buried there. Their ancestors have built places. They've planted trees, what have you. And there are also two groups that have experienced really high levels of historical trauma,
right,
as well. And so they've gone through really, really horrific things in the past. And so this tension between them feels existential to them on most days, right? If we lose this place, if the other side gets what they want, it is the end of our people. It is the end of our culture. It is the end of our religion. And so compromise or collaboration, they don't really feel like they're on the table for them. Like I have to fight for my existence. And so working in an area like that, it's really challenging because all those things are real. Those beliefs are real. The trauma is absolutely real. The logic that they come to about like why it is that they need to use violence or to fight is at a certain level logical about why they do those things. Yet at the same time, having worked there for 20 years, there's absolutely positive ways towards peace. I've seen Israelis and Palestinians do it. I've seen individuals do it. I've seen communities do it. At the national level, not so much, right? But all peace starts small to me, right? It always starts close in, and then it radiates out, right? And so when you're thinking about the Middle East conflict, you're actually starting to talk about individuals and families and then communities that live in close proximity to each other. And you can't really start anywhere else like that.
Yeah, that's a really great way of putting it. Because I think I think people hear about it and they just think, how can people hate people so much for no reason, right? That's what it feels like. But to be like, no, this is deeply rooted in a lot of really nuanced things. It's helpful to understand.
And it's really frustrating to me when I hear people deny part of that. Like, well, I don't think that trauma is that bad. Or I question they were only there for 500 years or whatever. I'm like, as Americans, like none of us have been here for 500 years, right? Like that's a really long time. And land matters to people. Culture deeply matters to people. Religion matters deeply to people. And you've got to kind of dangerous cocktail of all three, then mixed with trauma,
Yeah.
how would they not be in conflict?
Yeah,
In some ways,
that's
right?
such a good reminder of saying like, okay, there's this, and this, but also both sides have extreme trauma,
Yeah.
which you could say for probably most, if not all, like major geopolitical conflicts, right? Like both sides have
Yeah.
insane amounts of
Yeah.
trauma.
I feel like most Americans have trauma from the COVID period.
Yeah.
I work with young people who like had their growth stunted in certain ways by the lockdowns and, various things that have happened. Go back to 9/11, and there are people that experienced, huge amounts of trauma. Trauma is going to be at play when we're in conflict, and what it does to our brain chemistry, I think, is really, really interesting. Because when I'm operating out of a space of fear, and usually I am when I'm experiencing trauma, the parts of my brain that are really creative and really collaborative, they're not lighting up. Those neural pathways sort of shut down, and I get in a fight, flight, or freeze mode, and that's the worst possible mode to be in if we're thinking about peacemaking. Right. If we're thinking about like, we're going to come together and we're going to work on creative solutions to problems, that's just a really, really hard thing. And so the first obstacle that we face, and I don't care if it's, parenting or like with your partner or with your parents or just, in community, is if trauma is present, my brain isn't particularly wired in the moment to be collaborative or to listen, or to be empathetic. It's geared to protect, defend, and that's okay in some moments, right, where we're really in danger. But I think what happens a lot with trauma is it bleeds over to parts where maybe this isn't dangerous; it's just uncomfortable. Maybe this isn't so much evil as it is just difference. But the trauma amplifies it. It like turns it up to 10, and then I just can't really function in it. And so, so much of the work that I'm doing is like, how do I create the space for us to be able to get to a place where we can actually be creative, where we can be empathetic, where we can listen. And I actually understand that there's a lot of spaces out there right now where that's a big ask for people. And we got to afford them some grace and some patience, because that is just not the environment they're in.
Yeah. Now, when you're out there trying to like form bonds and trying to create peace and trying to elicit like collaborative ideas, what role do you feel like love plays in this?
It's everything to me.
Yeah.
My first book that I wrote was called Dangerous Love. And by the way, the publisher hated that title because it sounds like a romance novel or whatever. Right. And probably a few people picked it up and were deeply disappointed with what was there. But I always sort of think about this paradox that I see, which is that love is the bridge, right, that will get me there. And I'm not talking about like romantic love, and I'm not even talking about the sort of love that we use like, right? Like English language is sort of insufficient when it comes to love, right? We use the same word to mean I like romantically think you're hot, that I like you like you're a friend. Also that we'll say I love chocolate or I love tacos. But
I do love tacos.
I do love tacos too, but not in the way that I think that I mean love here. In the Greek, it's agape, right? It's the sort of love that says, I may not like you. I certainly might not even be attracted to you, but I see your value as another human being. And I recognize that you have desires, wants, and needs just like I do. And it matters to me because you're a person, right? And so my love is selfless in that way, and that is the bridge that I've seen that keeps us on the path to conflict transformation. And the irony of it is, in those moments of trauma, that actually feels like the most dangerous thing I can do, to be vulnerable when I'm afraid, when I feel like I need to protect myself. It's like the craziest ask, right? And so I titled the book that, because how to navigate that bridge from fear to love is to me the move in peacemaking. It's the move everybody has to walk and take, and I actually have to experience that level of love to be able to get the courage to walk the bridge.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel like love is inherently a dangerous thing?
Yeah, because it's risky and it's vulnerable, right?
Right.
Um, we've all had our heart broken.
Hmm.
I don't really know anybody who hasn't had their heart broken.
No one interesting.
Yeah, right. And then afterwards, like, what do you say when your heart's broken? I'm never going to do that again. I can't trust anybody. I just have to pull back, right, from life. And you see these people in mourning, right, because your heart breaks, and there's so much suffering that's connected to love,
Yeah.
and joy.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're good with paradoxes, right? I don't think we know how to hold those two things together.
It's so complicated because like I look at like some of my failed relationships that were like incredibly painful, like a pain I wasn't really familiar with,
Yeah.
right? And it was simultaneously when I was in a good headspace, it was simultaneously a really beautiful and joyous thing to go through that heartbreak, because I could see what I had. I could see the beauty of what existed for a moment in time.
Yeah.
But obviously I was still crushed and I was still like just in the doldrums,
Yeah.
But and then with hindsight, you can see much more clearly the beauty of it.
Yeah. Hey, isn't it Leonard Cohen in Anthem that says that the cracks are where the light gets in?
Yeah.
And this idea, right, that like to be human is to also be broken.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. To feel pain is to know like our heart is beating, right? The indifference is the scary part, and at times we wall ourselves off, right, so that we get past feeling to a certain extent. And I see that in all sorts of examples, but it's happening a lot in conflict. It's been too painful. I've suffered too much. I have to wall myself off. I have to create boundaries. I have to separate myself. I have to protect myself, and we do it out of a sense of like that will give me peace or protect me, but it just causes more pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And our instincts are like all wrong. Like we should run towards each other in conflict, but our instinct is to get as far away from each other as we can.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. What would you say to people that are like, I understand intellectually that I need to be more vulnerable, whether it's with my spouse or my kids or coworkers, but it's not in my nature. I don't know how to share. I don't feel comfortable exposing these broken, ugly bits of myself. What's your counsel for them?
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you pretty deeply, right? Yeah. I think that's me.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. It's so funny that I do this because like the hardest part of doing it is I don't like being a hypocrite. And so I know if I'm going to ask my clients to do these sorts of things, I need to do them in my own life.
Yeah.
And maybe if anything makes me good at what I do is I actually know how hard a thing I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking people to do. I like recognize it in my own life. I had this really funny story when I met this cool dude, Jim Farrell, who had written The Anatomy of Peace, like to me, like one of the all-time sort of classic books. And I wrote him and told him how much I loved his book. And I was starting this peace building program at BYU Hawaii. And he got really excited about it and said, "Oh, I want to come out. I want to visit your program. And I want to like take one of your classes." And I was like super intimidated by it. So he ended up going in a mediation class with me. And I decided, man, it's going to be Chad's greatest hits. Like I'm going to impress this guy. Right. And, talk about all these sort of amazing mediations that I did. And afterwards I thought the class like cooked. I was so excited about it, but I'm driving him back to his hotel and he hasn't said a word to me about this amazing like class that I put together. And so I'm like trying to like subtly get it out of him. And when it finally does, he says, "I really liked your class. You're a really cool guy, Chad. But I got to be honest with you. I was pretty intimidated." And I'm like, "What? Jim Farrell's intimidated?" But also kind of like, Jim Farrell's intimidated, right? And he said, "As I sat in your class and I thought about it, here's what came to mind. I'll never be able to do what Chad does. I don't have those skills. I'm going to fail about that all the time. I mean, Chad's never failed at a mediation, man. I could see it fail all the time. And then I'm like kind of quiet. And I'm like, well, that's not true. And he's like, well, what do you mean? That's not true? Oh, I've never failed in mediation. I actually fail. Like, I haven't like kept the stats,
right,
Taylor, but it's like, in the like 40 to like 45%.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
It's a lot, right? It's a lot. And he was like, oh, that's fascinating. How come you never talk about that? And I'm like, well, of course, why I don't talk about that. I want to, my students and whatever, like I want to give them the good examples or whatever. He's like, actually, that would be really, really helpful to me for you to like talk about those things.
Yeah.
And so I thought about it like for a couple of days. It's not in my nature to be vulnerable that way. I don't want people to see my weaknesses and my flaws. But as I sat there, I knew there was wisdom in like what he was telling me, but I also knew that it brought an inordinate amount of fear. Would students respect me? Like, what would they say about me? Would they go back and sort of tell that story or whatever? So I prepared for my next class, and I actually decided I was going to tell one bad story, right? One. But I was chickening out, and I kept like, and these are college students, by the way, right? And finally at the end, I like mustered up the courage. I was like vulnerable for the first time in front of my students and like ever there. And like the whole mood in the room changed. The whole attitude around the students changed. And I suddenly saw like that is the pathway to connection. Not wearing a mask, not putting on a face. And so when people say it's hard, I get it. Like it's hard for me, but also I know that my greatest joy comes from connecting to other people. So if I want to be in a relationship, if I want to connect, there is no other way.
Right.
It's actually opening up that sort of part of us that truly gets the connection. And so a lot of times, and I do this in mediation as well, I'm like, okay, does that emotion get you to where you want to be? And if the answer is no, then we need to sort of think about how do we water the sorts of emotions that get us to where we want to be. To me, the seed of vulnerability is the seed I should be watering 24/7.
Right.
Because I know that relationship is actually the thing that I crave. I actually think all humans crave it to a certain extent, and I'm not going to have authentic one without it.
Yeah. I've told some friends that have kind of come to me and they've been like, I do want to be more vulnerable, but it's just not in my nature. I tell them like a lot of times if you just start, and if that's not the culture of your family or your friend group, I say a lot of times it just takes one person, and because I think most people want to be vulnerable. So when they hear it from somebody else, it's an automatic like, oh, I guess I can share it too,
Yeah. I have my wife's amazing. She's a therapist, and she's maybe the best person I've ever met to invite that in other people. People will tell her all the time, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. And like, I've never told this before. And I've witnessed it over and over again. And I've also heard a number of people tell her, I want to be you someday. And my wife's a super humble person. She's always like, I don't understand what they mean by that. And I'm like, no, I kind of get it. I want to be this sort of person that another person feels so comfortable around that they can look at me and say, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I've never told anybody this before, but it feels so good to tell me this. And I actually know that your response back is not going to be judgment. You're not going to think of me any different. Like it's just going to be love back. That's my wife's Amanda. I mean, that's her superpower. And it's something that I know isn't necessarily mine, but like something I want to cultivate. Because I know how I feel around her. I know how my kids feel around her. I watch people interact with her every day. And it doesn't have to be in our nature to not like build and water that. Like Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk, says like the seeds of fear and non-fear reside within us, right? The seeds of vulnerability and stoicism, they're all there. Like, which ones do you want to water? And if I say it's not in my nature, it's partly because I haven't watered it. And I've watered the other thing. Like I've watered the fear or being stoic or being tough or whatever. I've watered that a lot. But it's in there. And like you said, like sometimes it just takes that like right person to
Yeah.
like bring it out.
Did your wife kind of help do that with you, like
She
in your
changed my
courtship?
life, man. I mean, I went through a really, really painful divorce, and I felt incredible amounts of shame.
Mm,
I was a peace guy. I was helping tons of people in their relationships, yet my marriage was failing. Religiously, it was embarrassing.
mhm.
Rumors start spreading throughout the community about like what's going on. And because I didn't fit that profile, like I can't believe that Chad, like of all people, like
Yeah.
Chad was getting divorced. People came up with the wildest stories because we do that, right? Sometimes we can't make sense of it. And I retreated into like a cave. And I took a leave of absence from the university. I didn't want to face my students.
Yeah.
I literally moved to like another side of the island up into the mountains. So I just didn't have to see people. I didn't mediate. I was like, I'm a hypocrite. I can't mediate. It was a really, really dark place. I had a lot of suicidal thoughts
Yeah.
in those moments. And if I hadn't had kids, I'm not sure that I might not have followed through
Right.
with them. But I also knew my kids were hurting, and I wanted to be there for them. But every night when I would go to bed, um, I just didn't want to wake up
Yeah.
the next day. And Amanda brought me back to life.
Yeah.
Like she resurrected me,
She just brought light.
brought light. And it was funny because I'd actually written the book Dangerous Love before the divorce.
Uh-huh.
But there was a big conflict in my life, my marriage, that I was not looking at. I didn't want to address.
Mhm.
And because of that, the book was off, and I knew it like subconsciously. My publisher was like, let's go, let's publish it. And I'm like, no, it's not quite right yet. Like I need to keep working on it. Because I knew I was lying in the book to a certain extent. Like I wasn't being vulnerable
Yeah.
in the book. Right.
Yeah. You weren't going all the way.
I wasn't going all the way. I wasn't being honest with people. And then when the divorce happened, I'll never write this book. Like I actually told the publisher, this will never be published.
Yeah.
I'm never going to do it. I never can write a book like this again. And one day, and this was after I got married to Amanda, and Amanda was like, I love this book. It's great, but it's not the full you. Like go back, rewrite it. And one day I was in class with my students, and we were doing an exercise together that to me is like one of the most powerful exercises. But I have to be honest, I wasn't doing it with them.
Okay.
And the exercise was I want you to think about the best things that have happened to you in your life. And I want you to think about the worst things that have happened to you in your life. And I want you to like write them down in parallel with each other. The best things, the worst things, decisions, things that happened to you, stuff that you caused, things that just, you didn't cause. And then I want you to look at the list, and I want you to ask yourself, how has these experiences uniquely prepared you to bring light and love into the world?
Oh, wow.
And so my students were like in class telling like powerful things, sharing for the first time stuff on that right side of like mistakes that they'd made or whatever. They were being so vulnerable, and I was sitting there, I was praising them about it. And then it hit me that this divorce, all of this stuff, all these feelings I'd gone through was a missing key for me to help people. And I had the courage that day in that classroom to say, I'm going to talk to you about my divorce.
Oh, wow.
And I went home after that, got on my knees, cried for about an hour, and got up and rewrote the book.
Oh, wow.
And the entire book changed. And it became filled with stories of me making mistakes. It became filled with the things that I was wrestling with. The examples went from exterior to interior. And to me, that anybody that I've ever met that's talked about like that book having impact on them, it's always that.
Yeah.
It's always that sort of level of vulnerability. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without Amanda. And she was patient.
Yeah.
Like if I were to say anything, and I think this is true in conflict in general, like you got to be patient with people.
Yeah.
People move and change in their own space and time. Amanda had to be incredibly patient. In fact, she'd probably say I'm still being patient with Chad. Like Chad's still like maybe he's 80%. I don't know what number. We could text her and ask her. Probably be lower than that. But this belief that it's there, that those seeds can be watered, and that they're going to grow into something. She sees things in me that I don't always see in myself.
Yeah, and
in the best way.
I think everybody needs somebody like that in their life, you know, even if it's not a romantic partner, to have somebody that can kind of see the divinity within you, can kind of see the God in you, you know?
Yeah. Isn't that what we all want?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. We want it. I think everybody, you know, Donna Hicks, she wrote this incredible book called Dignity. It's one of my favorite books. She's worked in Africa and places for years. And the basic premise of her book is that part of the reason that conflict gets out of control is that people feel like they've had their dignity taken from them. Yeah. And when they do so, they feel dehumanized to a certain extent. And it allows them to do unhuman or dehumanizing things sort of back. And so she's like, when you restore dignity, you open up this sort of humanity in there. But she says, like, you know, the key to every relationship is to be seen, to be heard, to be listened to be understood, to be given the identity that we want to give in the world. And when we give these things to other people, it opens up a space and a freedom for them to be human in ways that they're most likely to reciprocate it back. And it's so interesting. I'll put that quote, that's not the exact quote, it's a paraphrase, but I'll put it up on a screen a lot of times when I'm teaching, and I'll ask people, how many of you don't want to be seen? Right. Literally, I mean, I've done this all over the world, Taylor. Nobody's ever raised their hand and said, I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be heard. I don't want to be listened to. I don't want to be treated fairly. I don't want people to accept me for my identity. No one ever raises my hands. But then all of us, or a lot of us, feel like that's exactly what's happening to us in conflict. You don't see me. You don't listen to me. You're not treating me fairly. You don't care for me. So what is it about us as human beings that we know that we need that stuff to thrive, and we withhold it from others? Yeah. That to me is like a paradox. And part of understanding and part of getting past the paradox is understanding, if I need this, if this is central to me being able to thrive in the world, I have to look and ask myself a really difficult question. Are there ways that I'm not seeing this other person, that I'm not listening to them, that I'm not treating them fairly? And even if I think I'm treating them fairly, if I were to ask them, would they say that they're being treated fairly? Yeah. And the minute that can click in my brain, I can change the pattern now. I can start giving them the dignity that they deserve because they're human beings, regardless of their beliefs or their actions or whatever, the dignity that they deserve. And you are going to see something powerfully start to change in the pattern of the relationship and that opening up.
Yeah. Do you feel like that was the main catalyst in, you know, rewinding a little bit, when you had such a broken heart and were dealing with so much shame and even, you know, suicidal ideation? Like, so many people are in that spot and they're like, I don't know how I could ever love again. I don't know how I could ever reopen my heart. Did it just take being seen?
It did. Now look, I recognize, I mean, Amanda's a gift. Yeah. And I recognize not everybody gets that gift. Yeah. Right. I didn't earn it, deserve it. I stumbled on it. I actually tried to run from it. Yeah. For a long period of time. There's still ways that I don't feel like I deserve it. Like, you know, there. And so I recognize how hard it is if I don't have that. Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's a gift. I don't think I did anything to deserve it. That I got her. It made it a lot easier to open up and make that path. But I'm mindful like that there are people out there that don't have that gift.
Yeah.
Right. They're searching for that person
Yeah.
that might be able to see them and help them open up. And because they haven't stumbled across that, it's harder to do on your own.
Yeah. I would argue you do deserve it though. I mean, I don't know you personally, but I feel like people that have those amazing people in their lives, like, yeah, there's some luck, there's some serendipity, there's some cosmic mystery behind it, but I feel like you don't get somebody like that by mere accident. Like you get them because you like you deserve them. Maybe you haven't earned them, or maybe you haven't like done X, Y, and Z, right? But like I think a special person finds a special person.
I appreciate that. I hope I do. I'm just always mindful that I know a lot of special people that don't have that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's their fault.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
I just think when or if they do get it, they deserve
embrace it. Yeah. One of the reasons I like to talk about it as grace sometimes though is it reminds me to afford that grace to others.
Yeah.
That I don't walk around feeling like I got that healing because, man, I did all this like stuff.
Right.
Because I feel like a lot of times we feel like we should only give to people who deserve our love or our attention or what have you. They have to earn it first. But the most powerful way to break through with someone is to give it because they're a person. And they deserve it because they're a person, not because they've done something to earn your respect or your love or what have you.
I guess that's kind of what I was saying, right?
Okay.
Like you deserve her because
I'm a human being.
Yeah, you're a human being, and
I'll take that.
You know, like
I'll take that.
Yeah, and I think you would probably agree with me that she deserves somebody really special, right? And so she has somebody special.
Yeah. Well, I do love her, and I do recognize that part.
Yeah.
Every day. Yeah. And so I think she may say that.
Yeah. That's awesome. How do we? And I think we're kind of starting to touch on it when you talk about sort of this maybe a universal, unconditional love for people that is simply because they're human.
Yeah.
What else is there to like loving your enemies? Because it's such a obviously it's a hard thing. Obviously, if you're a Christian person, you're like, yeah, no, I get it. That's a commandment to love my enemies. But how do I love somebody that is mistreating me? How do I love somebody that, even though I give and give and give, all they do is take and take?
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
Right. I think of, Jesus says that a bunch of times. And I think most Christians find that like the part where it's like, it's more metaphorical, like in nature, like
that doesn't apply to me.
Yeah. It doesn't apply to me. And I think enemy love is to me one of the highest degrees of love because you aren't getting anything back in return.
There's no incentive.
Except one, which is that it breaks a pattern, right? When we show love to our enemies, so conflict requires a predictable response to keep it fueling, right? So, Jesus has this thing, like if I slap you on the cheek, you turn the other cheek. And people are like, oh, that's really passive. Like, and again, people say, oh, it's metaphorical. Like Jesus doesn't actually sort of mean that. But to me, it's brilliant, right? Because if I slap you on the cheek, Taylor, what is my predictable response back? What would I expect you to do back?
You're going to get slapped.
Yeah, to slap me back, or maybe if I'm way bigger or buffer, stronger than you might run away, which it might be the other sort of predictable
I might
response.
Flick you, I might get in there.
But I'll actually brace for it, right? I'll brace for it and then when you hit me, what I'm going to say is you hit me harder, or you deserve the slap, but I didn't deserve the slap, right? Like that's going to happen, and it's going to escalate, right? And so when Jesus says turn the other cheek, it's an unpredictable response. And it throws the enemy off, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm bracing for this hit or for you to run, but you're doing neither.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually standing your ground and saying, hey, Chad, it sounds like you're really, really frustrated with me right now. I don't know if that was helpful for you to slap me on the cheek, but here's the other one in case you didn't quite get it all out of your system.
Yeah.
It destroys me in a lot of ways. All the justification that I built over time that led to me slapping you is destroyed in a moment, right? It is really hard for me to think about what good reason I have to hit you again at that point, right? And it disarms me and it humanizes you and me in that space. And so enemy love to me, one of the things that's so cool about it is it breaks a pattern, a predictable pattern of conflict that puts the person who may have initiated it in a actually uncomfortable space, right? Where I can't justify continuing to mistreat you anymore because you won't mistreat me back.
Yeah.
Right? And our instinct is if I mistreat you back, I will deter you from mistreating me. But actually what I think it does in most cases is fuels the fire.
Yeah.
So we talked in the beginning of this podcast about Israel and Palestine, for example. And, one of the things that I've noticed as a mediator over there that I think is especially toxic in that environment is that Palestinians come from a culture of honor, which means that when someone's honor is taken, it needs to be avenged. And, sort of like this Old Testament principle, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth type of thing. But it's a very powerful cultural principle in Palestinian culture. So every time there's an Israeli attack or mistreatment, there's a sense and a need to respond in kind, right? Israelis, and I think some of this comes from the Holocaust and what have you, have traditionally had a disproportionate response thing, right? Like if you hurt me, I will give you a disproportionate response that is meant to deter you again from doing it again.
Trying to send a message.
Yeah, I'm going to try to send a message. If you mess with me, you mess with my whole family, right?
Yeah.
And both of them are deterrence strategies. But when you mix them together, you are creating what I call a conflict tornado that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I feel more and more compelled to react. And the angrier, every time you respond in kind, I get angrier and angrier and more convinced that you are a monster in your response because you aren't submitting to the deterrence. And so to me, enemy love is hard, but it is actually one of the most practical forms of conflict transformation that I can think of, because if either side were to practice it, right? If either side were to not give the predictable response and the unpredictable response, the other side wouldn't know what the hell to do.
It breaks the chain.
It would break the chain. It would mess with the justification. This is how Gandhi overthrew the British Empire and got them to voluntarily leave India without firing a shot, because the British people couldn't take it anymore as they watched violent after violent incursion towards the Indian people without them responding with violence, but responding with love. The British people looked into their hearts and said, we're not this. We can't do this anymore. And so it is a hard thing, but it actually, to me, is a really powerful tool to break the cycle of conflict. And if what you really want is peace, that's the thing that you want to do, is you want to break the cycle, not actually play into the cycle and add an extra dose of gasoline. And in our polarized political climate that we live in today, I grimace, because what I think we would say that we want is peace, understanding. This group doesn't get me. This group is persecuting me. This group hates me, what have you. And so what I say I want is understanding, identity. I want dignity. But the things that I actually do and say invite the opposite.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to visualize it almost like a domino effect. Like, I think we can probably agree that love sort of begets love, and it begets love, and hate begets hate. And so if hate runs into love, the domino stops.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The Avett Brothers have one of my favorite songs of all time called The Ballad of Love and Hate. And it's this sort of conversation between between love and hate. That is just it's a fun sort of folksy song, but it has this beautiful sort of ending where hate is kind of resisting love and love just is persistent.
Yeah.
It's persistent in sort of asking for relationship. And at the end, hate kind of crumbles, right at the end. And that's the other aspect that I think is really hard. And look, I don't want to just be thinking about it this theoretically. I mean, I understand this stuff is hard, but a lot of people will tell me, well, Chad, I tried that once and it didn't work.
Once.
Yeah. Or I tried that a couple of times and it didn't work. You don't know this person the way I know them because I've actually tried what you're talking about. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think this is the other part of it. If they're your enemy, they may not trust that unpredictable move. They might be like, hey, what's Taylor actually up to here? Is this manipulation? I don't actually trust that he's going to keep it up or what have you. It turns out that sometimes the conflicts that we dig ourselves into are not going to be solved overnight.
Right.
And so that one gesture, that one apology, that one letter that we wrote that they never responded to, we can be hurt that didn't work. But when we're offended that it doesn't work, we actually restart the cycle again.
Yeah.
And it actually proves to the other side that they were right to be skeptical in the first place, right? Because it wasn't that sincere apology.
What percentage of the time would you say it only takes one attempt?
When you have an amazing, thriving relationship where you do conflict really well and you immediately address the issue, then one attempt. And so I talk about this stupid thing that I call the oatmeal rule, right? And the oatmeal rule is if you've ever eaten a bowl of oatmeal and maybe left a little bit of oatmeal in the bowl and then take it directly to the sink and try to wash it out, oatmeal just slides right out. Like it's slimy, right? It'll slide right out. If you leave it all day on the table and then go home that night and try to wash it out, it's like glue. It will like stick right to the dish and you may have to like soak it overnight before you're going to be able to get it out. Now imagine that oatmeal had been sitting there for weeks or months or years, but I just want it to slide out of the bowl.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of times I'm like, we just have to be realistic. If there's wounds take time to heal.
Yeah.
And what I know won't heal a wound is to continue to keep punching it, continuing to keep opening it up. You're going to have to give people some space and time sometimes for that to go and understand that that's part of the process. And so that level of patience, I think it's hard for me. I think it's really hard for people to say, I'm going to keep doing this again and again and again. And keep showing people that my arms are open, that I'm open to relationship, not so pushy that I'm stalking them or driving them crazy, but enough to signal to them, when you're ready, I'm ready.
Yeah. Man, that is so profound. The thought of even the term enemy love, right? It seems like an obvious contradiction, but it's really beautiful to think that that's a thing that you can strive for. And I think sometimes maybe that's a macro example because I think a lot of people might be like, well, I don't really have enemies. I have people that bug me. I have people that annoy me. I have coworkers that are difficult. I have a spouse that doesn't listen, but it's the same principles, right?
It absolutely is. Same principle. I think it's hard. Whatever our level of conflict, right? Obviously, Israeli-Palestine, that's big. Sure. Like we see that as some sort of giant thing. But there are people who are suffering in the smallest ways in their relationship, and it's experienced to them as pain, and it's experienced to them as suffering. Yeah. Right. And so one of the things I try to do is not try to rank people's suffering. Or pain. So I think you're absolutely right. Like in our day-to-day stuff, our enemies sometimes are our partners or our kids or our roommates or our parents or whatever. And when I say that they're enemy, we lose sight in the moment that them pursuing whatever it is that they're pursuing is what makes them human and unique. And what I'm pursuing makes me human and unique. And somehow I get to the point that annoys me or irritates me enough that I start to question whether this is the relationship that I should be in. I think we have a weird relationship with conflict, to be honest. And I think in generally, we always see it as negative. And to me, like conflict is a neutral term.
Yeah.
It can actually be very, very helpful in our relationships because it can help us see where our differences lie. It can help us see that we don't always value the same things. It can force us to be more collaborative and talk more and get deeper to try to find that common ground.
Yeah.
And of course, it can be destructive as well. But I notice that a lot of people feel like if I have conflict in my life, I'm in a bad or toxic relationship.
Right.
And I just don't think that's true.
Well,
it just means you're in a relationship.
Yeah. Because conflict has to be inevitable if you're communicating.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you have zero conflict, you're probably not communicating.
Yeah. Well, actually, John Gottman, who's that marriage researcher, actually has a really troubling study that says one of the best predictors of divorce is couples that say that they don't fight or argue.
Interesting.
And people are shocked when they hear it because they actually think it should be the opposite. Like, I hope that's where I get to with my partner, is that we're so aligned that we don't argue anymore. But I think Gottman gets exactly to your point. What it actually tells me is you're not communicating.
Yeah.
You're holding back. You're not being vulnerable anymore. Probably got a conflict accommodator in the relationship that is saying yes when they mean no a lot. But that resentment and that contempt is building over time. The communication channels aren't clear. And at some point, they're just going to blow.
Yeah. Or it turns to apathy, right? And they're like, well, this is not even worth bringing up.
Yeah. And our relationship isn't worth spending the time to do this anymore. Relationships take a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that has been really cool to me to see Amanda, and I think that the social worker helps her, is she prioritizes relationship over everything else, and she puts in the work.
Yeah.
And I know it's not always easy for her. I know she's sick of getting me to open up some nights, or she sees me closed up or whatever. But she puts in the work, and it pays off in just these, huge, powerful ways. And again, I think part of it's just in conflict in general, we want the other side to change. We just kind of want it to go away.
Yeah.
We want to find that perfect person that doesn't really require work from us.
Right.
And, but everything in life that I value required some work.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want a partner that encourages me to watch more TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just loves my gaming habit, that I play nonstop. Totally accepts me for who I am. And I actually get that. I want that. I want that too. But part of her accepting me for who I am means I'm accepting her for who I am. And that's going to create tension at times because we are not the same people.
Right. How do you deal with conflict resolution in the same manner if it is inner conflict that you're having with yourself?
Yeah. It's so, that's a great question to ask me, because the thing I like to talk about the least. So good job. I'm going to try here. And the reason I like to talk about the least is I think I've gotten a lot better at the external conflict. I feel like my training and the things that I've learned and the mistakes that I've made over the years have led me to be better at relationships than I have been in the past. And I feel more confident, and I feel like I have skills and tools. When I turn it inward, I'm still kind of a mess. That's the hardest for me. I can afford grace to everybody except for myself.
Right.
When other people make mistakes, I'm like, it's a growth opportunity. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm judging you zero. I actually love that you were out there and willing to try something new and make the mistake. And I mean it when I say it.
Yeah.
And none of that language comes back to me internally. And I can see it. Rationally, I can see it. But I'm not very good at actually feeling it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I absolutely think that the principles hold true. I just find that they're harder to apply internally for me. I know other people who are good at it internally. They have great self-worth. It's the exterior relationships that they really struggle with.
Yeah.
And I think part of that for me, and I actually talked about the experience earlier in the podcast, right? Where I felt like I'd failed and I couldn't deal with that. I just couldn't deal with the publicness of the failure for me. how we talk to ourselves can be violent and nonviolent
Yeah.
as well. The way that we treat and speak to ourselves, to me, has the same effect as the way that we speak to and treat other people.
Yeah. So maybe this is a hard question to ask yourself, but what is, like, if you're struggling with self-worth and you maybe like you're like, I know all the answers, I have all the tools, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I don't feel it. I feel a certain level of worthlessness, or I feel a certain level of stupidity or shame or whatever. How do we start with baby steps to improve our self-worth and our self-love?
Yeah.
And maybe this is something that you struggle to do yourself,
Yeah.
but what do you think the answer is?
Part of it is getting up every day and putting myself out there. Every mediation I do, I know there's a chance that I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
Every event that I do or podcast that I do, I know there's a chance that I may regret something that I'm going to say later. I actually, even as we were starting this, there's that familiar sort of ripple of fear that kind of, I can feel it sort of ripple through my body. Am I going to say something that I'm going to regret?
Yeah.
Or embarrassing later, or what have you. And so, a lot of times what I encourage people to do is step into their fears. Don't run from them, like face them and step them.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's starting with like conversations like this. I kind of knew what I watched your podcast. I kind of knew what I was in for.
Yeah.
When I did this, I knew we weren't just going to speak in academic terms.
Yeah.
About life. And to me, that is a form of bravery and giving myself like some grace. I'm gonna do this, and what I'm gonna find out, I think, down the road is, even if I say something stupid or do something stupid later, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to destroy me or how people see me, and in fact, maybe being vulnerable or even screwing up on camera will open up space for somebody else.
Oh yeah.
And that can be really cool.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. I think for myself, I wonder if you feel similarly, but for myself, there is, I would say, at any given time, if I think hard enough, there's reasons for me to be sad or for me to feel certain edges of despondency or hopelessness, right? But when I am helping people, when I'm connecting with people, when I'm engaging with friends, when I'm trying to be close to people, when I'm even doing this, when I'm connecting with a stranger, that stuff goes away, And so for me, I know that the more I do that, it's obvious. It will help me.
Yeah.
It will increase my self-worth. It will make me love myself more.
Yeah.
And it won't eradicate whatever darkness lives inside of me, right? Maybe it's, call it pessimism, call it depression, call it whatever you want. But I know the more I engage with people, the more I connect with people, it kind of eats away at the darkness.
That's cool. That's cool. So if my fear is like failing or disappointing others because I want to be my best self, what's yours? What's your deepest fear?
Probably that whatever vessel that I've arrived in is not enough or not adequate for somebody else. Maybe the fear is that maybe I even do deserve someone amazing like your wife, but I just don't get it. I don't find it. It's not in the cards for me. That's a really heavy thought.
Yeah. And what do you do to step into that fear thing?
I almost, obviously I vacillate with it, but I view it as ultimately just an intrusive thought that has no actual validity, no real truth attached to it.
Yeah.
And so I treat it as, I treat an intrusive thought as if I would treat an intruder entering my home. I say, get the hell out of here.
Okay.
You have no business here.
Okay.
Right? But I understand that I struggle to lock the back door, so he's going to creep back
It's
in.
coming. Yeah.
He's going to creep back in from time to time, but he's not welcome.
Mm.
And so when these thoughts come, I try not to be too hard on myself and be like, these are really human thoughts.
Yeah.
Everybody has them to some degree. And so I'm not going to add on top of that shame and embarrassment and guilt for feeling those.
Yeah.
These are just human emotions. Why don't I just recognize that this is a dark thought, a negative thought, but it's not really welcome in my brain. It doesn't come from any source of truth, you know?
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. It's helpful for me.
Yeah. There's part of that feels kind of Buddhist in the sense that I recognize this is what it means to be human, is to have intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
Or I recognize part of what's human is to have self-doubt.
Yeah.
Or imposter syndrome, or to have conflict. And instead of feeling like there's something broken in me or the world because I'm suffering or I'm feeling pain, I just have to accept that is part of the human experience. And actually, when I do so, I actually start to quit feeling this same level of anxiety about it.
Yeah.
Right? Because it just is. As human beings, we're going to suffer. We're going to feel pain. We're going to love. We're going to be disappointed. We're going to have intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
And how do I normalize that to the point that I can see that that's what it means to be human. So even as I'm going through this intrusive thought, it's a signal to me that my heart is beating, that air is coming into my lungs right now, that I'm operating like a human being operates right now, and let it be that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be more than that.
Right. I don't want to bemoan the fact that I'm a human. You know what I mean? And I think I used to really fear, I think my greatest fear used to be sadness in general. Like I feared sadness because I had felt it in a profound way and I knew how painful it was. And so that was my fear. And so I was like, I want to do everything I can to avoid sadness. And obviously you find that numbing sadness just creates other kinds of sadness, right? But I think I've come to a place where I still don't enjoy sadness, right?
Fair.
But I don't fear it anymore because I know it has utility, right? It teaches me, it shows me that I'm human, right? And it also sometimes shows me that I had something wonderful, that I have a big heart, that I feel things deeply.
That you're vulnerable.
Yeah. All these things are good things, you know? So to me, I'm like, if I'm sad, like, great. Like, let me feel it and it'll pass.
Yeah.
But it used to be kind of this scary forest I was entering.
That's a cool way to look at that.
Yeah.
You're a cool dude.
Thanks, Chad.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. I don't always do it well, but I understand it. And when I do it well, it makes life worth living. It's there's a paradox there that it can turn to joy.
Yeah.
Right. To be alive and to be living. It's so funny. I went through all that stuff 8-9 years ago. And there's part of me that would never, ever want to go back to that space again. And there's another part of me that would say I would never be in this space if I hadn't gone through that stuff again.
Yeah. Do you almost view it as a sacred time of your life?
Yeah. I mean, I'm maybe in the space where it's becoming sacred-ish.
Yeah.
Right. There's moments where I feel triggered by it.
Yeah.
When you go through a divorce, there's ramifications that last for a really long time. My kids also had to go through it.
Yeah.
Sometimes years later, things come out of that, that, when they're telling me, it triggers things inside of me and it starts the whole process again. I'm like, this is my fault that my kid is, in their 20s and, feeling this thing right now that, they're struggling to be in a relationship because of this horrible thing that they saw, sort of happen Um, but I think everybody that knows me, um, and knows me well, and especially people who knew me way before when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
more carefree, more not afraid and beat up,
Mm-hmm.
by the world in a certain way, that I'm way more my most authentic self now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I don't know about you, but everybody that I love to be around are people who are being their authentic selves.
Yeah. Those are my favorite people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in the trash, even when their things are tough, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever, I love that. It's liberating.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives you permission to, to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
to share those parts of yourself as well.
Yeah.
Well, Chad, you're awesome, man. Thank you so much
So are you.
for doing this. I appreciate you, doing an overtime session with me. But yeah, I like to wrap this up. I know we don't know each other very well, but I like to wrap this up and just ask if you have any questions for me.
Well, I think you answered the question
Okay.
that I had. I'm always curious about it because a lot of times when I know somebody's fear,
Mm-hmm.
I also know how to be with them,
Yeah.
right? Because part of my value is that I don't want to ever add to somebody's fear.
Yeah.
I'd like to invite you to step into it, but I don't ever want to add to it.
Mm-hmm.
If I can walk through this world and not add suffering to other people, I would really love to do that
Yeah. Yeah.
thing. And so I feel like when you shared that with me, like it gave me insight and light into like being able to be in better relationship with you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Thank
And
you.
I hope we become friends.
Yeah. Likewise.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really devastated I didn't have time to read your books, but I'm going to. Yeah, I got 70 by 7 and I read like, the first 15 pages, but I'm excited because I love, and we didn't even really touch on it, but I love the idea of forgiveness.
Mm.
Even if you are a completely like irreligious person, I think forgiveness is just a paramount principle.
Yeah.
And like I think it's imperative in your healing journey. I think if there's anyone in your life that you are withholding forgiveness for, your healing is incomplete.
Yeah. I think that's right.
Yeah.
And I think we all need some healing
Yeah.
right now. So I'll tell you what, you read those. You recommend what's your recommendation for me? Now you know me a little bit. Which book did you write that you think would be the one that I would vibe with?
I wrote my second book. We were talking about this before. I was a history major as well, and I studied more than anything the Holocaust.
Mm.
And so I wrote a book called Return Not Desired.
Mm.
And it's kind of just talking about the utility of suffering and also the utility of studying suffering and being around it. And I talk a little bit about when I went to Auschwitz and visited Auschwitz, and I talk a little bit about my own suffering. And that weird sensation where you're like you said it really well, we don't want to compare suffering, but we often do. And we do it with ourselves. We're like, well, what I'm going through is nothing compared to the Holocaust. Yeah. It's nothing compared to what's going on right now in the world. But I just don't think that's a healthy model. And I don't think it's helpful. And so, I talk about how all these amazing lessons you can glean from the Holocaust, even if your suffering's nowhere near that. Because it's the same principles. It's just on a bigger scale. Yeah. And the title, I don't think I've ever even talked about this, but the title Return Not Desired is, there was this like Nazi order, and in some of their paperwork, they basically, when they'd go through towns and kind of like kidnap Jews and stuff, some they would want for work or they'd want for some other usage, but ones that didn't matter and that were going to concentration camps, they would stamp Return Not Desired. And, I touched on how sometimes we feel like that.
Yeah.
You know.
That's beautiful. All right. I'm going to read that. You'll read 70 times
Okay.
7 or Dangerous Love or something. Let's go on a hike and
Yeah.
we'll talk
100%.
about it. If Tommy wants to film the hike, he can film the hike. But, that'd probably be a really cool conversation.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah, you a hiker?
I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I like a hike with a gorgeous destination.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a few here.
Okay,
There's a few around here
totally.
that we can go to.
Okay.
All
Appreciate
right,
it, man.
Appreciate you.
Okay.